Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, Colin. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks, Dharam. It's great to see you as always. Real
I
pleasure
know.
to have caught up with you in person a couple of weeks ago. Great to have you back in Australia, and so glad that I could spend some time with you today.
Yeah, look, I know, we know each other since 1999 or 98 when I joined your team as one of the system engineer, and we worked on some Y2K or GST projects at the time. And yes, at
I
the
think
time,
at that time, Dharam, you showed your hand as being one of the greatest exponents of project management that the world's ever seen. So I'm just so impressed with everything that you've done in your career since we had the time to work together. And if anyone wants to know about project and program management, you're the man.
yeah, actually, yeah, thank you for this. And also, I like to remember because of you, I can clearly say because of you, I'm here. One is because of course, you selected me for the role at the time. But second is you put me for this GSMS rollout, and in that I have to go and speak in front of 20, 30 people, talk about what with the trainings and everything. And I'm coming with no training, no presentation skills. Yes, that was a hard thing I have to do, but that's the best thing happened to my life because that changed me, the way I'm working on doing or working with so many people around the world. So thank you for that.
No, it was my pleasure. Great times. And
Exactly.
it's been a real pleasure to continue staying in touch over the years. I really feel that the work that you do is so important in helping educate how we can improve in project and program management. I guess if you think of something like the Standish report going back to late 90s, where they highlighted about 60% or more of projects fail, things haven't changed too much. Even
No.
over the last 2 or 3 decades, we still find these challenges in being able to deliver projects effectively. But with good training and with a good understanding of the principles like you apply in your training,
Mm,
we need that to get better outcomes for projects. So
definitely.
love the work that you're doing there. Yeah.
Thank you for accepting my invite for coming to this podcast. And there's a lot to learn from you, Colin. And people are waiting, or people will watch you, and definitely learn from the discussion we're going to have today and future. Your experience. As I said, I know we started at the Optus, where you are the project manager. Then you became the account leader, account manager for Sydney metro area, and then you moved on to many other the company GHD, and currently you're one a very senior position of the Lendlease. Um, how's it going? The
It's
Lendlease.
going very well. It's very exciting times for us, Darren. I head up our services division for a group called Podium within Lendlease. Podium is a digital platform that extends across the property lifecycle. We look at everything from development of new buildings and precincts through the construction phase and then into ongoing operations and maintenance. And there are some large challenges to overcome at the moment in the property industry. There's been plenty of challenge around supply chain right through COVID and even now through inflationary pressures and the like. There's been the whole shift of hybrid and return to office challenge as people have realised that they can work from home, they can work from the office, they can work from anywhere. We see in retail just such a change in terms of how people can make the choice between online or bricks and mortar shopping and everything that does to retail centres and impacts there. And then, of course, in a residential context, we've got things like build to rent coming on strong in parts of the world where people just can't afford to buy a house anymore, which is a
Mm,
horrible thing, but we're helping address some of those challenges. So anywhere you look in in real estate, we're seeing massive need for change, massive disruption. And what we're doing in Lendlease to address that is putting in place a digital platform and a digital ecosystem to use data to make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of project and program management changes required in that too. So that's a strong part of it. And that really helps with the change management process for people to appreciate how you can do things digitally and get better outcomes. So
Yeah.
fascinating times.
I know, especially in the property, market is, of course, there is ups and downs. And of course, commercial properties, you're dealing with like mega million or billion dollar works happening around the world. It's good to
They
be
really
involved
are.
in such big programs.
We've got a $110 billion pipeline around the world at the moment that we're working on. And to get through that quickly, we're hoping that we can do around $8 to $10 billion of projects every year.
Yeah.
To be able to move through that quickly, we need every bit of digital help that we can get. We need every bit of project and program management expertise that we can get to make that happen. So some big challenges to address, but I feel we're doing pretty well on that score.
Oh, it's a good challenge to having such a big pipeline and so much work happening around the world. Why not bring it on? Yes. Okay, thank you once again, Colin, for accepting my invite. When we met last time in Sydney, you've shown interest. Yep, we want to bring some knowledge, and especially when you talk about technology, transformation. I mean, I cannot find anybody else other than you. So you coming with so much technological experience and exposure. So we have some topics or some questions to talk today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just for the record, the topic we're talking, technology-enabled large-scale transformation. And we're saying large scale means huge. Would you
Go
like
big or go home? Absolutely.
Yeah. So any example you like to talk about which large-scale program you did and you are involved?
I think there's quite a few to point to. Some of the important projects that we're doing around the world at the moment, probably a good example. We're doing some very large-scale precinct development where there's thousands of dwellings being developed in California at the moment. We're working with a very famous company that I can't name to build out new precincts that will support the communities that they serve right throughout the Bay Area in California. And that's just a massive undertaking over a decade or so of activity. In Italy, Lendlease has been working on the Milan Innovation District. Some 100+ buildings that are being repurposed from what was an expo site a couple of decades ago into the most innovative centre in Europe, and refactoring how those buildings will work to create an experience, a collaborative area where people can all come together and do things in new and different ways. So the scale of the projects that we're dealing with are sort of anywhere from $200-300 million through to multiple billions of dollars in capital effort.
Yep.
And on a digital perspective, we're having to use all manner of technology to make that happen. We're very well supported by our partners. We've partnered with the likes of Accenture, Google, Lenovo to set up a global ecosystem of technology that we can apply. We're having Accenture and Google actually use our product as well. From a digital perspective, they use our digital platform as well as helping us build it out. So those sort of partner programs are so important nowadays if you're going to undertake large-scale digital transformation. Organisations shouldn't be trying to do it by themselves. They should be forming partnerships to make it happen.
Nowadays, it's more about expertise. You have certain expertise and Google have some expertise, and everybody and look for the best part of each other and partner, and results can be enormous.
That's right. I think to make it a true partnership too, it's not just what you're doing for them or they're doing for you.
Exactly.
That's important, but it's also what you're doing together to co-create new customer outcomes. And that's a very important part of my role and what we're doing at Lendlease.
Exactly. So what strategies ensure successful large-scale transformation? What strategy you apply or organization applies?
It all starts with a vision for what you're seeking to achieve that has to link back to a customer problem.
Yes.
If you can't state the customer problem that you're solving, and you've just got an amorphous concept of what you're trying to achieve, it will make it very hard to progress. So a lot of time needs to be spent up front, just truly understanding what is the problem that you're trying to solve. I'm channeling Clayton Christensen in my thinking there in terms of understanding, jobs to be done and the right way to go about innovation and change. But I would certainly advise anyone looking to do large-scale digital transformation to start with the problem and what problem you're solving. Once you've got that in mind, then the next quick and important step is to find a customer that wants to solve that problem and work very closely in listening to them about how they would see that problem solved. There's a temptation, particularly with technology, to try and solve the problem yourself using a fancy approach with the technology, which may not be the right approach. Sometimes the simplest approaches are the easiest, and the technology doesn't have to do a lot to be able to solve the problem. I do see a lot of, hammers looking for nails in property technology. It's better if you can really get to the nub of the problem and then define the technology to match against that problem.
Exactly. So having a clear vision where we are heading to, that gives you sense of direction. And, we need to find out what are the goals we have to set in between goals, objectives, and what technology we can use to make us, the things faster, better. There are currently, as we know, lots of new technology or changes are happening, digital transformation, and tools are available nowadays which can be applied to make your life easier or get the chance of implementing such a large scale programs or project successfully will be much higher if you utilize the right tools, right technology, right mindset, right people around you.
I think 2023 has been the perfect example of it, Dharam, because generative AI has been on everyone's lips. But throughout the year, we've seen some incredible advances in the technology. And yet when I unpack with people what problems they're trying to solve using generative AI, it's very easy to quickly understand who sees the value of generative AI in a business context in terms of outcomes that can be enabled versus those people that are following the bandwagon. We're blessed at Lendlease to partner with Google globally and have the best minds in Google helping us to develop our generative AI capabilities and to put them into real world uses so that we can solve problems together. And just in the last year, the advances that we've made with Bard, with Vertex AI, has been extraordinary. The ability for us to push through with generative AI to solve some of the property industry's largest challenges has been incredible. But it always started with understanding what's the problem that you're trying to solve, then working on whether generative AI will help solve the problem or not the other way around. I talk with people all over the world pretty much every day about what they're doing in generative AI, and there's still a lot of people that want to apply the technology, but they haven't thought about the business problem. So.
Yeah, first we need to, of course, define the problem and make sure everybody understands where we're heading to.
Really do.
Yeah, really definitely AI is one of the things going on, and ChatGPT and many things are happening around the world, which is fantastic, but very scary.
There's a scary side to it as well. There's no doubt about that. I was watching the CEO of Paladin talking about that last night on one of the American channels, and you know, there's all manner for good, bad, and indifferent for any technology.
Yeah.
Again, comes back to having that vision, having that understanding of what you're trying to achieve, and hoping that the problem you're trying to solve is a good one that's going to advance society. So I'm sure we'll see much more of that in the coming years. It's going to be
Yeah. Lots happening. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Colin, my question is, how can technology act as an enabler and catalyst for large-scale transformation? We start talking.
Yes, it's a broad question, Dharam, and obviously technology nowadays covers so many different fronts. There's also so much rapid development in new areas such as AI, quantum computing, where we're seeing some incredible things happen here in Sydney, actually. Companies that are right at the forefront of what's happening next in quantum computing. Everything that happened with the metaverse that's now evolved into better use of visualization techniques and tools, and where that can go next into the future. Web3 developments, everything that has happened there. There's just so much change, so much opportunity. What's really going to make a difference in all of that, though, and this is something that project and program managers have right at the core of their responsibility, is to really unpack what the business opportunity is. Really understand, again, the problem that you're trying to solve. Really understand how the business operates today and how the business wants to operate for the future. When I say business, it could be a government issue, it could be a company issue, it could be a social issue. Fundamentally understanding what is the problem at heart, what's the outcome look like that you want to attain, and therefore how can technology make a difference. I can recall working together many moons ago just on the idea of a checklist for every project that looked at success criteria. What are the 5 or 6 things that at the end of the project we can look at to say we had success? And I think that those key success factors, those success criteria are such an important responsibility of a project or a program manager to define what does good look like with the customer before they start thinking about what technology to apply. Then when you get to selecting the technology, the world's your oyster at the moment. There's just so many options out there for how you can go about bringing technology to bear. And that's just going to rapidly change in the near future. We're going to see more and more opportunity for new technologies to play a starring role. But if you don't get that success criteria right up front, if you don't know the problem you're trying to solve, the technology is just getting in the way.
Exactly. That can be showstopper rather than enabling it for you.
It can.
And especially when as you mentioned, there are so many options available with the different technologies that are coming around. I mean, of course, having some basic understanding about technology, as a project program manager can be useful. Or having people around you who understand this new technology coming up and discussion. And
I think that's so key to it. Sorry to interrupt, Dharam, but what's really key to it, and I was having a fantastic conversation about this with some senior government officials yesterday, is what is your digital strategy for your project? That has to be a stream. And maybe you can help me understand how PMBOK might have advanced there in recent years. To my mind, like you would have a risk plan, like you would have a schedule, like you would have an issues register. Every project, to my mind, in my humble opinion, should have a digital strategy as well. There should be some thing that calls out how will technology play a part in the project.
Yeah.
What do you think on that?
No, yeah, I mean, having digital strategy is important, and also as we talked about the tools and techniques, and especially the tool. Nowadays, as I say, there are many tools available and number of things available. And one of the things I've shown you sometime back as VXDCC, which is
Yes,
bringing the entire organization in one place, with the decision making happening very fast, with the resource utilization happening very efficiently. So, and that's based on the technology, the digital, and internally
it is.
the decisions are made, and help you to pick the right project in a minute, having a bubble chart, having right information available into the system, and the system give you the starting information.
Yes.
And whether you just trust this information provided by system or not, that's another thing. But it's all, again, we can always talk about garbage in, garbage out. So what information you're going to feed into that new technology or system you're going to use, that's where the output will come out.
Trust is going to be probably the biggest issue in data and digital in the coming decade. Data veracity, which is how much you can trust the data that you've got, is challenged by the fact that right now, any data source that you have coming into any system doesn't actually have the metadata to define its accuracy. That metadata can be changed pretty easily anyway, but if I think of proof and validation of data, this is such a big issue. We're now in a world where I can generate any image I want immediately online. I can generate my own voice or anyone's voice and get them to say whatever they want with deep fakes and the like. Then you've got the whole challenge of GPT models hallucinating or combobulating the data in any fashion that they seem without knowing what the truth is behind it or the bias that might have been applied. So we need, as a society, to define new ways of establishing data veracity, truth in data, and knowing that the data sources we're using can be trusted. It starts in every project in having a data policy and knowing how will data be used in my project, how will it be controlled, how will it be authorized and validated. If you're personally using a mobile phone app, then you've probably got 2-factor or even 3-factor authentication to log in nowadays. But in a project, in an organization, what's your 3-factor authentication for any data coming in from external source? Typically, there isn't one. And I think that's something society's going to have to solve for very quickly in the coming years as generative AI creates more data than we've ever seen over the near future. This coming year, 2024, 147 zettabytes of data will be created artificially. And you won't know which data was real or not. So it's a huge challenge to face.
Wow, new challenges to think about.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. So, following to that discussion, what role do data-driven insight plays in reshaping industries through the digital transformation?
Not enough. The potential of this is massive, Dharam. I'm blessed in that what we're doing with the Podium platform in Lendlease is taking us beyond historical trends of data and being able to understand, what happened last week and what might we need to action into predictive and even prescriptive analytics. Predictive analytics is where essentially you're taking what happened and you're forecasting what you think's going to happen and taking action on the forecast. And we're certainly doing a lot of that now to solve problems like upcoming sustainability challenges. How can you reduce electricity emissions within buildings, carbon emissions, things of that nature? How can you offset the challenges of hybrid work environments and return to office and low utilisation, and forecast how building utilisation can improve? The really exciting area in data and analytics coming to the fore is prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics are where the data informs decisions and you get recommendations on how to do things based on what the algorithms, what the models are telling you. In a large language model for generative AI purposes, the large language model should be able to inform what decisions to take for the future. We're not quite up to that point yet, but think of it in the concept of, I've got a project, I've got a risk, how do I mitigate my risk? The large language model for your project will be able to prescribe the mitigating actions. And you should be able to say, hey, GPT, this is my risk. How do I mitigate? And it should spit out, here's the 10 actions you need to take to mitigate that for your project. Not quite at that point yet, but very close. And in a property context, we're doing things like, hey, we know that in 4 weeks' time, we're going to have low utilisation in our building. We think we should possibly turn off a floor in our building to save some electricity. What do you recommend? And we're developing software and capability that can recommend, why don't you close down level 5 for 2 weeks? No one was going to use it anyway. Save on cleaning, save on electricity, move everyone into level 4, give them a better experience by changing the layout of the furniture and the desks and the meeting rooms. Move that around so that you can cater for the number of people that we're expecting, but save some time and money on level 4. They're the sort of prescriptive analytics that we're starting to provide now using software and generative AI.
Wow, lots of development happening. Yep. I just said, I have to catch a flight from Dallas to Sydney. Can you find the best route and best price?
That's it. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And actually, believe it or not, it's already, Expedia is already on the Chat GPT as an add-on. And I just said, I'm planning a 10 days trip to, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Can you give me, suggest me a itinerary? And believe it or not, there was an itinerary, which I was thinking already, like, this is what I want to do.
Isn't it great? Isn't it great? And that sort of convenience is going to drive a lot of the prescriptive engines of the future. Yeah. We're going to get more and more of the case that, life's just more convenient because you can tap into those recommendation engines.
Exactly.
Definitely drive the future.
And again, this we already talk about technologies. We'll give you some, as you say, prescriptive, but you have to use your own mind and all analysis and make sure the data is there, right data is in there.
There's got to be the human fact check. And again, I've referred to the Palantir CEO talking about this yesterday. You've got to have humans in the loop. Elon Musk has been quite vocal on it recently too. You've just got to have those human checkpoints in everything that you're doing to validate the context. It's the context that leads to things like hallucinations in your large language models. You've really got to understand, what problem are we trying to solve? And is the data, is the technology helping solve that problem? Or has it gone a little off-piste in its thinking? So humans are always going to be so important to validate.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thank you. I'm moving on to my next question. How can collaboration with supply chain improve through technology? And what benefit does it offer for large-scale project or programs?
Well, I think we saw through COVID the impact of your supply chain being single factor supply chain. What I mean by that is where many of your components within your organisational value chain were relying on one area. It could be that you sourced your parts out of one part of the world, and if that part of the world was not easily accessible, then it was very hard to quickly turn to other suppliers around the world. Immediately through COVID, we saw the realisation that in any supply chain for any project or for any delivery chain, you've got to have multiple options for how you're going to source your product, how you're going to source your resources, how you're going to go about creating something. So I see this as a massive challenge for project and program managers to consider. If you're trying to work out how your resourcing of a project's going to work, you've got to think laterally about how to remove blockages in supply by having multiple components in multiple areas available. It's as simple and yet as complex as knowing that your people resource may need to come from two centres. Maybe you have an Indian software development team and a Singaporean software development team. It's working out for components that you need in terms of physical materials. Let's say, building context, where is your steel coming from? How do you know that you can get steel from China, but perhaps also get it from Germany? You've really got to plan your supply chain nowadays with that multi-location approach, multi-supplier approach to get past the challenges that we've seen. Now, technology can play a great role there too. One of the things that we looked into recently is scouring our procurement contracts for our supply base, and Lendlease has a massive supplier base for the buildings that we develop and construct. Understanding where we've only got one or two suppliers for a particular component or capability, and working on how we're going to get a broader supply base than we might already have. So technology can look at all of our contracts, look at all of the supply capability that we have to bear, and then look for those risks for where we've only got a handful of suppliers to have a look at where else we could go. There are a lot of marketplaces that have been stood up in recent years for you to then go and find new suppliers. And it's getting better, although it's still not perfect, to be able to say, I need this component, I need this product, where can I find it around the world and get access to it quickly? And I think we'll see proliferation of those sort of supply chain databases coming out of what generative AI will provide, to the point where you'll be able to say, I need to build a bridge. Please tell me all the people that can provide rivets to go into the steel to build the bridge frame. And you'll have the technology spit out with 20 different options as to where to get your rivets. We're not quite there in the supply chain yet, but that world is coming fast and it'll be important.
Yeah. Okay, good. I mean, of course, the softwares are coming out, apps are coming out. Like one of the things, I mean, I talked about VXDCC, how the resources are managed. And one thing you talked about, there is different type of resources. You're getting resource from Indian software center and then Singapore center, local from Sydney, and different rates, different charges, expertise, different level. How do you manage all entire different resource leveling in this way?
This is the ongoing challenge of a project or program manager, isn't it? There's that constant resource leveling to really understand what you need when you need it, and to cater for hiccups along the way. Classic case being, someone goes off sick. How are you going to replace that resource on your project? If you don't have a solid appreciation right up front of your resource leveling, if you haven't taken the time to build out your project schedule and your resource schedule, then it's going to be very hard to address those issues as they arise. So there's so much planning required up front. The tools nowadays really do help with that. The technology available to plan out your projects is really strong. And yet I do see from time to time, people trying to cut corners and not put that planning time in. If you have done your planning, if you do know your resource allocation against your project schedule, you know your critical path, and you know where your critical resources are going to be required on that critical path, you've got a much better chance of success and to mitigate issues as they arise. I think what I'm suggesting is to go one step further, which is to have a plan B for your resourcing. COVID showed in a heartbeat
Yeah,
that if you've only got a plan A, you're going to be in trouble. So have a plan B up your sleeve too.
exactly. And other thing is many organizations are still living on Excel based, whatever
Oh, it's
workbooks.
terrifying. It really is, with today's technology and all the capability, that people revert back to Excel, and they do that because they know it. It's easy.
Yeah.
They can manipulate it very quickly to show what they want to show. And yet, I think what we'll see, particularly with Gen AI, is just a shift to the computers doing a lot of that heavy lifting in coming years, and that'll free up humans to do a lot more of the advanced validation work, advanced thinking work, advanced planning work,
Yeah.
so that the day-to-day operations are handled by the computers.
Great. Good. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this. All thinking about having this technology available around. Okay, so my next question is, what are the key practices for effectively integrating artificial intelligence into organizational culture?
Starts with a data governance
Yeah.
approach. I still come across customers, organisations daily that do not have a data policy.
Yeah.
I can't get my head around why you wouldn't in this day and age. There may be some data security and data privacy policies, particularly if you're working in UK, Europe under GDPR or the like, particularly through regulations in many countries around the world around privacy. But that's only to protect the innocent, and we need it. It's really important. It's not going to help protect your organisation or your project.
Yeah.
To protect your project, there has to be a data policy that states how data will be governed throughout your project, and you're just not going to be able to effectively put in place something like AI if you haven't got that basic policy in place. What does the data policy tell you? It says, how is data going to be used in my project or in my organisation? Who's going to use it? Who owns it? How will ownership transfer across silos within an organisation? And how will it be manipulated? So how will data be added, deleted, modified throughout business processes? It starts with knowing what your business process is. If you don't know how your business process works, then it's hard to know how data will flow within that business process. But if you know at the beginning, here's your business process, then you can start to say, okay, how will data inform that business process? And how will it be managed effectively? And then with that information, you've got the basis upon which you can introduce AI and say, right, what can we now automate? What can we now put models in place for, large language models, machine learning models, etc., to start to automate aspects of that business process in a governed manner. If you try and do it without that data governance and without the data policy, you lose control very quickly. And AI, to my mind, is about having a really solid understanding of what data inputs are you having into a model?
Yep.
What data outputs are you getting? How did you calculate those outputs? What were the algorithms? And how did that support your business outcome? What problem were you trying to solve, and how did it solve that problem? Without those checks and balances, AI can very quickly get off the rails and start giving you answers that are untrue. We go back to hallucinations, etc. Start taking you in a direction that was not intended. And it's not hard for you to get into a situation where your customers start querying whether you really know what you're doing. So get a good data policy for your project or your organisation before you go anywhere near AI.
Yeah, definitely. Having good data policies and governance around data and governance around the technology, whatever technology we are going to use, who can use, and what decision we can make based on what technology responses are coming out. And, that's a huge challenge and exciting time. Of course, we are learning as we learn. As we talk, we have a lot of development happening in the field of AI and chat GPT and lots of technology and lots of tools being developed as we speak with the help of new technology.
There really is.
So, wow. Okay, great. Thank you, Colin. It was really awesome to learn a lot from you about the new technology and how this technology is helping you, and also can help many people who are in this large transformation program or getting to know about the technology. It's a good eye opener or a starting point for many people. So I hope people have learned a lot out of this, and love to know your comments and everybody's comments. This is if we are saying something which is not relevant or not making sense, please let us know as well. So we like to be corrected on that, and so we next time when we do, we are better prepared and do better job. But Colin, you did really well. It was our first podcast. Thank you for accepting my invite, and I think we're going to have a lot more to come.
Absolutely, Dharam. Thank you so much for your time. And for our audience, please, any questions or comments would be a delight. Always great to get feedback. I'll just leave people with this. The conversation's been about large-scale digital transformation and technology and the important role that that can play in society at the moment. There's one thing to remember in all of it that's more important than anything else. What matters is the impact that we're having on people.
Yep.
Project management is at the core about looking after people and the outcomes that you're seeking for people. Technology is there to help, but in every step you take as a project or a program manager, you should always be thinking about what value am I bringing to people, more so than what value I can generate with technology. People are everything.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, society, people, organizations, yes, machine and everything good, but at the end of the day, it's all about people and ethical decisions that we talk about, and we have to think what is the impact of have these new technology on us and to people on that. Great. Thank you once again, Colin.
Thanks for your time, Dharam.
Pleasure talking with you and learning a lot from you. And I'm looking forward for our next future sessions. So till that time, thank you. Bye.
Have a great day.